last October in San Jose, California, we gathered a bunch of end users, and they predicted that there was a potential of 39x growth in infrastructure capacity in the next 10 years. In London, last November, our members made it clear that this growth has to be sustainable and that our community has to take the lead in finding sustainable solutions to support it. So I want to thank Martin Lynch, one of our advisory council members, and Patrick Oland, the chair of our sustainability committee, for the passion and persistence to get us organized around this topic. In February, we gathered a small team of industry leaders in San Jose to define what problem we were trying to solve from a sustainability perspective. It was an incredible session with some very passionate people. We generated 14 pages of notes that were synthesized into a strategy document. We held another session a few weeks after that one to finalize the content for this summit. All right, this actually series of 3 summits. And what I was most encouraged by is that this group of people were united, not only to define the vision, but to commit to the work and to work together to get it done. They're driving it. So that vision you can see here is every click improves the future. We can envision a future where digital infrastructure contributes to the global economy and society without harming the planet. So today we have brought together a group of industry leaders across APAC to give their perspectives on sustainability in relations to their regions. So joining me on this is, I'll run through a quick bio on each of them. Narendra Sen is the founder and CEO of RackBank Data Centers, which is solving the digital infrastructure challenges of the global tech giants by building Asia's biggest hyperscale data center platform in India, starting with Chennai, and then Mumbai, Pune, Bangalore, and Noida. Second is Raymond Tong. He's the CEO of Sunny Vision, the largest data center operator in Hong Kong. Sunny Vision is they currently operate 5 data centers in Hong Kong, totaling about 60 megawatts of IT load capacity. Among them, Mega I is a very famous worldwide mega data center networking peering community. And it is one of the most connected data center hubs in the world, and also, of course, within Asia. And about 2 years ago, Sunny Vision launched a new high-tier data center called Mega Plus for hyperscaler expansion. And last year, Sunny Vision acquired the last and biggest piece of land in Hong Kong for data centers to be built at $700 million, showing its long-term commitment to the business in Hong Kong. That site alone will be over 120 megawatts and ready for service in 2022. Third is Yali Liu, and she is the Executive Vice President of Chayora, responsible for network and strategy, supporting delivery and of large scalable high performance data center campuses in China. Prior to joining Chayora, Yali was the Vice President of China Cash, where she was instrumental in driving career neutral data center and building the first internet exchange, which is CHNIX, in mainland China. Yali spent more than 18 years with Verizon, including MCI, in various executive positions, responsible for global network planning, engineering, and network product development. Fourth is Dr. David Wang. He's the architect for data center integration and optimization at Alibaba. He's responsible for holistically optimizing hyperscale data center design and operations to simultaneously achieve high availability and high efficiency. Prior to joining Alibaba, David worked for Microsoft, also responsible for integrating various aspects of hyperscale data centers for optimized availability and efficiency. David spent 20 years working at Teradata and was instrumental in designing, delivering, and maintaining large-scale computer systems in a diverse range of enterprise data centers all over the world, including some of the world's largest and best. For years, David has been working with international colleagues to drive data center resource efficiency, and currently is the honorary chair of TGG China. Okay, so wow, we have quite a panel here. So thank you all for joining. And David, would you give a little intro to our Chinese speaking attendees as well?
线上有好多那个讲中文的那个同事啊，那我就简单的介绍一下刚才丁讲的话。去年10月份在那个湾区呢，他们开了一个 IM 在湾区开了一个会，那么终端用户们呢预计在10年中数据中心的规模呢会增长39倍，这个是主要是美国的终端用户。然后在11月份的时候，他们在伦敦开了一个会呢，主要就是讲大家公认就是说数据中心的发展必须是可持续的。那么那个 iMason 呢责无旁贷的 要起到一个领头羊的作用，找到可以支持可持续发展的一个方案。那么到今年2月份的时候呢，业界的领头人主要是微软啊、那个谷歌啊、Facebook 啊一些大的公司，然后讨论就是说整个的行业所面临的一个挑战和问题吧。那么这个会议产出了14页的会议纪要，然后呢，他们从中间又总结出来了 IM 的可以持续的可持续发展的愿景和战略，让人们看到了我们的希望是我们的行业的领头人和专家们不但群策群力找到了我们共同的愿景，而且都非常努力的承诺为达到这个愿景共同努力。那么从每一次案件都能改善未来这样的一个愿景，我们可以展望一个素质基础设施为提高全球经济发展和社区质量提高做出贡献而不损害地球的一个美好的未来。
Excellent. You summarized what I said very quickly. That was very good.
It was a short version. Yeah.
There you go. So, well, first off, welcome. Thank you for joining me in this panel. I'm honored that you're here, and I love the fact that we're represented around the world. We have Hong Kong and China and India, right, and San Francisco, as you can see behind me. And I know, Narendra, you were trying to put up the Taj Mahal, but it covered your face instead of the background. Exactly. So. Oh, there you go. It looks like a dance hall. Okay. That's great. So I want to start this panel. First off, you guys have, really diverse experience in very specific areas within APAC. You've done scale, both as a supplier and as end user customers. And I want to know from you personally, what does sustainability mean for you? So why don't we start with you, Narendra?
Okay, thank you very much. I'm excited to be here, and so the best part is we are a startup in data center, and we are starting from scratch. So we have opportunity to adopt whatever available in the technology side to optimize the energy. And sustainability means what others has given, like Sunita and Blair has mentioned. This we have a common goal, and we believe that internet was built for solving global problems and making it normal to everybody can solve this, right? So bringing the global problem together. And I think it's for our industry side, the maximum energy consumption is by the industries globally, anywhere in the world, be it manufacturing or be it any industry, service and all. So in India, it has the same, like 56% energy is consumed by industry. And so as a Reg Bank, our vision to adopt sustainability from day one and implement it and adopt and reduce the carbon emissions in whatever ways. So vision is very simple: to make our mother nature again the same, and for our future generation, it will support them as well and give them a direction that what in our past the people supported, and they can continue the same.
Excellent. And I again, you've got such a perspective. We're going to double click into India as well, right? Just you personally and how you've grown up in the country, and also what you're doing with that business. And I want to go to Yali as well. You've had a ton of experience across China and growing at scale. So you personally in your career. So what does sustainability mean to you?
Well, sustainability, I think from my perspective, I really think it means that we need to be able to maintain this beautiful blue and green planet that we live in the long run for the many generations to come. If we look at China, for example, it's the country that have the largest power consumption. It accounts for about 26% of the world total energy consumption. So wow. To make it sustainable, it's very important. It's basically, I would say, it's the top strategic focus of the country, one of the strategic focus of the country. And
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see it, sustainability as it's like the highest mountain that the world need to conquer.
Right.
It's higher down than Mount Everest, because it's going to be very hard to really make it happen. And but we all need to strive toward it.
Yeah, absolutely. The stat you said, 26% of global energy consumption is in China.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Okay, so that definitely some things have to start in China, right? It's about China's scale.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
There are a lot of things, happening in China from renewable energy perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to double click into that too. So let's go to Hong Kong. Raymond, so what does sustainability mean to you?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me to share. To me, actually, personally, obviously, what the other speakers just share about building something long lasting for the environmental impact, it's really key that all of us are driving towards. But at the same time, from a business point of view, I look at sustainability also from a business model point of view. That we need to have the right business model that's sustainable, with the right product, with the right service model, with the right channels. And also from a company team culture point of view, we need to be sustainable as well. Productivity, for example, some of my staff are telling me that, hey, we work overtime. I mean, we don't mind working overtime. But my question to them is like, is it sustainable in a prolonged basis working overtime? So I'm more looking at it from a holistic point of view. Environment, business model, and team culture and productivity.
Yeah. So it reminds me of what Blaise was talking about with responsible business, right? Renewable energy is a portion of it, right? Just there's so many pieces that make up sustainability. And so, yeah, it's important to actually have a balanced approach to it all, because you can't burn out your staff at the same time, right? Everything's got to be sustainable. Well, David, let's go back over to you. I know you're in the San Diego version of, is that the Forbidden City?
No.
It's not? Okay, I got it wrong. That was pretty close. Well, tell me, I mean, you've been in end user companies for a long time, Microsoft, Alibaba now, and give me your perspective on what sustainability means to you.
Okay, thank you for having me on this panel. All the other panelists have already talked about the larger scale things, and I want to focus on the more specific things to the data center industry. So the first time I was involved in this sustainability was when the Green Grid was formed in 2007, right?
Yep.
And I looked at the number at the time. Based on the DoD's report. The data center energy consumption at the time in the United States was 61 billion kilowatt hours. Right. And that wasn't staggering. What scared me was they made a projection, right? And if we followed the technology trajectory, and the power consumption is going to skyrocket, given that the digital industry is exploding and all that stuff. So if you look at it today, just like you said, and all the industry leaders got together last year in October, and they predicted that the data center industry is going to expand 39 times.
39x, up to
39x, right? So if we don't innovate, if we keep on the same track, and guess what? We're going to use up all the energy, all the resources on Earth. This is not sustainable.
Yep.
And we cannot continue on that path.
Yeah, and I think that's such an important perspective, because it doesn't become a crisis until it's a crisis to you, and yet things can be just impacted. I look at that report. Jonathan Kumi was from Stanford, who put that report together for the DoD. Right, or DOE.
Yeah, DOE, yes.
Yeah, the Department of Energy in the U.S. And what they were talking through was really the U.S. consumption. And I would say in the last month, I started looking at predictions about what the future would look like. So, today, if you take that report and look globally, they say there's 205 terawatt hours of consumption for data centers globally right now. 205 terawatt hours. All right, 200. So, I mean, that is a significant amount of draw, but it only represents 1% of the actual global draw. And what Yali just said, 26% is just coming from China. That, right, data centers are still a small amount, but take this pandemic, take Zoom, right? The amount of growth in that, up to 200, right, million people are actually on that one. Now take every other technology platform, 700 million, right, or 700% growth on Microsoft Teams. Everything is expanding because now everyone in the world is dependent on digital infrastructure more and more. Now, if you go back to the green grid, the beginning, you know, we had Christian Bellotti on the panel in the previous summit. He's the father of PUE. He donated PUE, right, into the green grid to help drive as a standard. And that flattened that curve. I do believe that PUE and the focus on efficiency and measurement really did change the trajectory you talked about, David, right? Without that, we would be in one of these places where we're consuming a significant amount more, but also a lot of the low-hanging fruit has been picked. So now we're at the point where we've got to rethink how we do this. And then data growth and everything is just massive. So I want to tie this in because that's a little bit of a backdrop on, you know, the demand that's coming. IDC said that there's going to be 175 zettabytes of data generation every year by 2025. That's 3.5x of what we're doing right now. 44 to 50 zettabytes is being generated right now. Okay, so take the sustainability vision we just said. Every click improves the future. Okay, when you unpack that again and think about the context that I just laid out, if we have a 3.5x data growth, we have emerging countries, and we're going to talk about India and others as well, massive amounts of digital infrastructure that needs to be built. We're going to have more and more capacity rolling back out, more and more consumption. It's inevitable, and that's okay. But we need to figure out technology-wise, how do we make every click improves the future happen? So I would love to get perspectives from each of you in your regions. You know, what does that actually mean to you? How would you apply that, you know, in your businesses and your thinking? So Yali, I'd like to start with you. In China and China, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, well, in China, basically, we know China has a very high energy consumption. And if you look into it, actually the renewable energy percentage for 2019 for the wind power was around 5% and solar around 3%. So, but it's a significant increase from the year before. Actually, wind is a 20% increase, and solar power was a 50% increase from the year before. And that's the number based on actual consumption. And actually, the capacity, excuse me, the capacity for wind power and solar power is actually much higher available in China. So there are a lot being done by the government and by the industry to work together to actually be able to use those capacity and drive for a higher percentage of renewable energy. And so there's a lot of program on that at this time.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk more about renewable energy, and you know, I think of that's an element within the strategy. And so, you know, whether it's supply chain or, you know, low carbon concrete, you know, all of these aspects, you know, digital waste, there's a huge amount of replication of data across so many different places, 6 replicas of all those different things, you know, and, you know, this is a very short but very powerful vision statement. Every click improves the future, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and from a Choroya perspective, so we actually, you know, we build a hyperscale data center in mainland China, and we, from a design perspective, we make sure from a technology and design perspective, we design it to be at a low PUE. So it's we make sure it's below 1.2, and that's one perspective. And the other is that, you know, it's all interaction, right? We work with the state grid and also with the National Energy Administration on a variety of green energy, renewable energy project, so that we could provide the customers with a specific basically 100% renewable energy option.
Yeah. And it's, again, there's so much that can and will be done in China. I know that, right? Because once you put your mind behind it, there's just, man, that country scale happens. So I want to go over to Hong Kong and talk to Raymond a little bit about this too. So you've heard this vision, you know, you've been on the other summit as well. I'd like to get your perspective. What does it mean to you?
Yeah, well, in Hong Kong, obviously, I mean, we all inspired by this bigger vision to how to build a sustainable world. But for Hong Kong, obviously, we face our own challenge. I mean, Hong Kong is one of the world's most densely populated cities. I mean, with 7.5 million people in a small place.
Right.
We are like actually one of the top densely one. I mean, we have 7,000 people per square kilometer. In some local district, it's 50,000 people per square kilometer.
Wow.
So naturally, it's all high-rises building. I mean, you've been to Hong Kong, and you've been to one of our data centers, like Mega I, which is 33 floors, high-rises. And as a result, it's not easy, I would say, to do renewable energy due to the limitation of space and also very expensive space and land. But I mean, that's not an excuse. Obviously, we need to do something about it. And so we actually already started working with one of our local power company partner, China Light and Power, CLP, which is one of the 2 power company in Hong Kong, on using the renewable energy certificate program. Basically, they use locally generated renewable energy from solar panel, from wind, and also from landfill gas, because we do quite a bit of reclamation in Hong Kong. So there's landfill, and after so many years, then the gas can be used. So we actually started using it, and although it's not cheap, it's actually 50% higher, more costly than normal electricity. But anyway, we would like to lead the change ourselves, and also currently working with our major customers to ask them to join our forces. But I would imagine it's going to be a process, but we're working on it.
Yeah, and usually visions are almost unattainable, and that's a good vision. That means you got to really work hard to achieve that one. So I want to go over to David. What's your perspective on the vision?
Okay, I'm a technical guy, so I come from. I'll take a technical approach to it. I'm really happy when I first heard this vision, and happy that IM is taking this lead role to promote the sustainability on a global scale. But more importantly, with the focus on the unifying all stakeholders. Yeah. So going back to the Green Grid days, and we talked about a PUE, and then I was instrumental in bringing the Green Grid into China, and trying to help the Chinese industry, the data center industry, and introduce the best practices and metrics developed in US, EU, Japan. And well, we achieved some good results. But if you look at the PUE reported from US companies, it's somewhat different from the PUEs from the Chinese companies. and it's not helpful, it's confusing, right? And with your effort and this kind of unifying all stakeholders, and I think this is going to lead the whole world into the next phase of the PUE. Just like you said, the PUE has done its work, and we needed to go further.
Yeah, for sure. So Narendra, let's talk about India itself. So from your perspective, what does every click improves the future mean to you?
So I think this is a great vision, and this will help emerging market and operator like us to solve those problems for the industry. In perspective is we are 1.3 billion people, and it's a scale like China or what Chayora team has mentioned. Similarly, India energy consumption is very high, and around 137% growth we have seen in the solar energy installed capacity wise. The government made efforts. So it's come from leadership, like leadership on the I-Mention side or the team side or a company side. So our Prime Minister has signed the Paris Agreement, and afterwards everything has started toward the sustainability side.
That's great.
And because of that, it's a growth of 137%, 137%. And the second thing is, India is now 5th largest country in the world in terms of the solar installation capacity. And the similar solar is now 100 gigawatt. And government has the ambitious plan to deploy 172 gigawatt of solar energy. And other thing is, Mother Nature has given us terawatt of energy, unlimited energy. There is no limit. The problem is storage. In data, the problem is storage, and same the problem in energy as well.
Sure.
So I think we should adopt providers who is going to store this energy, because in 8 hours a day, you cannot store energy for 24 hours. At this point of time, the solutions is not available. And we as an industry should work on that direction to store in low cost.
Yep.
Yeah, so RegBank vision is to enable this for our customer and for the industry. So we, like one startup, we are in discussion. They come up with sea salt storage, like using seawater and create a storage solutions. And similarly, a lot others are doing geothermal solutions, storing energy into the ground and all those things. Another thing is liquid cooling solution. These kind of new approach has to be adopted by the customers first, because the challenge with the operators, we can't take those solutions and implement for the customers. Customer has to adopt this. Yeah. So
customer driven. Yeah. This brings I want to double click into two topics here, and you raise the first one, and that's about just the renewable energy. And I remember, Narendra, when I was out in Mumbai with you, we were walking through some stats, and you were sharing the cost of renewable energy in India. Can you expand a little bit more on that?
Yeah, of course. I forget that to mention. So renewable energy is now 30% cheap compared to grid pricing in India. So customers don't need to pay premium for that.
So hold on. 30% cheaper than the cost of the grid. You realize that Raymond just about fell over right there. It's 50% more, right? In Hong Kong.
Right.
So there might be a little more land in India. And again, the government's behind this, right?
Yes.
Significant amount of investments and alignment, I think, to go get that renewable energy.
Right. So they enable the 100% FDI, and they make a relevant policy to make it happen. Say, all driven by the investment and combination of entire industry and adoption as well. Say one more example, in Delhi, diesel generators are now going to be banned. And similarly across India. And the government will have plan to, I'm guessing that, and maybe it's that every industry has to give a commitment of using a sustainable energy solution. So I think the government is making it really easy for everyone to adopt.
Yeah. So I want to go to David on this one, but here you've got the government specifically stating requirements, and I look at the fact that they say that we're going to sign the Paris Accord, we're going to do renewable energy, we're going to incentivize, like all those things are aligned, right? So in China, and David, specifically as an end user, because what Narendra just said is there has to be adoption, there has to be drive. And I remember what Raymond was saying that, hey, the customers, if they could work together with us, we can go potentially solve this. Well, give us your perspective as an end user. What are the challenges and things about renewable energy for when for what, say, Alibaba was doing?
The renewable energy on paper is great. And from end user standpoint of view, there are challenges. obviously. And number one, the government support is at this stage is essential. Without government support, and you just don't get anywhere. Number two really is you need the infrastructure, right? And you can build your own solar farm and all that stuff. You need the infrastructure to support that, right? And I read somewhere last year, in fact, that in China there is a lot of waste from the renewable energy, the solar, the wind, because there is a lack of infrastructure to port the energy being generated from the renewable sources into the grid. So these are the things, and I think end user alone cannot solve this problem. It's the government and all the stakeholders need to work together.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so Yali, you know, we talk about China's scale. And you know, you just heard from Narendra that you know there's alignment, and then you just heard from David that there's a challenge of wasted energy. You know, there's lots of sun and lots of wind and lots of things, but if it's generated at the wrong time, that energy just kind of dissipates somewhere else, right? So from you know, renewable energy for Chiora, specifically in Tianjin, right? That's the first data center campus that you guys have built out.
Yep.
So what in that region or that area, is there anything specifically the government is doing to incentivize or help with renewable energy?
Yeah, it's not just that region, but throughout the country, the government has incentives to support, to bring more renewable energy into to put it into use. So I just like David mentioned, there are more capacity to generate the renewable energy, but actually bring it to the grid and be able to get it utilized properly is a challenge, and that's being addressed. That's like what I was mentioning, the solar power actual usage in 2019 increased by 50%. So a lot of that have to do with actually be able to properly bring those power into the grid and get it used. So in Chiora, we look at the different options and work with the state grid and the National Energy Administration on the options to provide on the program that provide renewable energy. There are a variety of programs, and our goal is to make 100% renewable energy available to our customers as needed.
Got it. Yeah. And so, okay, we look at these large scale campuses, then we look at the concentrated stuff in Hong Kong and the challenges you just talked through Raymond. You know, I look at what Narendra was saying about energy storage, and I absolutely agree. There's no way to get renewables to a price point that's going to be consistently viable unless you've got some way to store that energy that's going to be a base load. Because right now, base load is coal, natural gas, you know, other things like that that says it's consistent. And so, you know, is there something in Hong Kong that is being focused on from the government or others around this, you know, getting something that's cost effective?
No, I think the brilliant minds in the Hong Kong government and also in our communities, including the power companies and also including data center providers or the major infrastructures that use a lot of power, like the airport, so and forth, actually working together as a community to explore in a limited space environment like in Hong Kong, what breakthrough can we do from a technological point of view, from a design point of view, or from a storage point of view, things like that otherwise is just we are trapped at a corner that we cannot do anything. That's not the answer, obviously. So we need to have some major breakthrough, hopefully in the near future.
Right. Yeah. And again, whoever breaks that mold, right, solves that equation when it comes down to energy storage for renewable power generation is going to change the planet. And I will tell you that there is work on this, and being able to have beyond grid scale, right, a gigawatt plus energy storage for more than 30 days There is stuff under development right now, and this is man-made, right, as well as natural, right, storage type cavern things that can be done. And so you know, we're going to be talking about this in the working session about ideas and things that are coming in, you know, about renewable energy. But I want to shift topics here. Here we looked at getting energy to the data center, but now I want to look at the data center capacity itself. Okay, so and I want to start with Narendra, because one of the things that stood out with me in my India trip just earlier this year, when we could actually leave our houses, was that there is a total of 400 megawatts of data center capacity in all of India. Correct?
Yes. Yeah, correct.
Just keep that in perspective. 400 megawatts total in the country of capacity. So
yeah.
And you have 1.3 billion people, right?
Right.
You're catching up to China. 1.4 billion in China?
Close.
Something like that?
Yep.
A lot. Okay, so capacity, growth, you know, when you look at it, it just seems to me that you're here and it needs to go like that, right, when it comes to data centers. So you're building hyperscale. Tell me about the capacity side of this.
Like out of 1.3, 600 million is already online, and government making the fundamental things are connecting people first.
Mm-hmm.
And go toward that, connecting 500,000 villages, because India's majority population lives in villages, which is like 60%. So government has ambitious goal that they will connect in another 3 to 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And if we talk about the data center side, data center, only 3% hyperscaler, large hyperscale customers, OTT customers, had deployed their capacity in India. The rest 97% is outside India.
Yeah.
So demand is huge, and more than 200, even one side is customer demand, another side is India's own demand, where the digitalization is happening. More than 200 smart cities. Imagine that billions of devices will come up in these cities, with billions of people are going to and use those devices and already using it. So I think demand is going to be anywhere. We discussed 8 gigawatt to 10 gigawatt in another 5 to 7 years. That what we believe on that, and that's again challenge for us, for the industry, to how to sustainability adoption. We can deliver this solution to the customers.
Right. So let just listen to what you just said. That's a 20x growth in capacity just in India. Just in India. We talked about 39x growth, right, from the overall end user summit itself. So just the emerging markets that have this massive growth potential there, you know, I think of LATAM, Africa, all right, just across India, just them alone is going to be huge, huge growth. And I want to go to David for this on the capacity side. Your former employer, Microsoft, we had Noelle Walsh on a fireside chat, and she gave a staggering number. She said because of all the demand, they turned up 100 megawatts in 2 weeks. 100 megawatts in 2 weeks. Wow. Okay, so they basically did 25% of all capacity in India in 2 weeks. That's mega scale. That's hyperscale, right? That's one hyperscaler turning up capacity for demand that's happening because of the pandemic. So, you know, when you look at it from an end user perspective, what does the capacity growth look like? You know, and because there's Alibaba and all the other peers, you know, and specifically in China, you know, Yali talked about 20%, 6% energy consumption globally. I'd assume this industry is blowing up when it comes back to digital infrastructure consumption.
Right, absolutely. So I'm not sure if you have heard, in March, late March, the Chinese government held a meeting and announced, as part of a stimulus package, there is a data center is one of the 7 pillars of this new infrastructure build out. It's going to be huge.
We have arrived.
Oh yes, absolutely. It's going to be huge. So last I checked the hyperscale data center numbers of data centers in the U.S. Well, U.S. has about 25% or 30%. I forgot the global total hyperscale data centers. China has about 8 to 10. So think about the number of people in China and the size of the economy, and the growth is just beyond the imagination, right? And I think the timing for this vision, right? Every click improves the future, cannot be better.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the large companies inside data center, inside China, and the data center providers are start thinking about building more data centers. And if we can get some of the strategic thinking and the sustainability initiatives baked into the plans,
Right.
and we'll see the benefits years for many, many years to come.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Yali, I want to line this back up because the comparison here. What's the size of your data center in Tianjin?
Well, when it's all built out, our campus is 300 megawatt.
Okay, so hold on. Let's one campus in Tianjin will have 300 megawatts. The entire country of India currently has 400. So this is just massive builds, right? Massive opportunities because the demand is not going to stop. So capacity-wise, you know, you're seeing this this demand happening within Tianjin and I guess as well as Shanghai and others, right? You've got additional capacity being built out.
Absolutely, yes.
Got it. And so what does that demand look like as far as the growth rate within your area?
Well, you know, for China, I don't have the exact number because it depends on how you calculate it. It's a multi-tenant, what's not. But I will say, I just like David mentioned, it's a data center is part of the new infrastructure put out by the government. So we would expect to see tremendous growth in the hyperscale data center in the years to come, for sure.
Yeah, and when China focuses, big things happen. So that's really cool to see. That's one of the 7 pillars. So let's talk about Hong Kong now. You know, take the India horizontal and turn it vertical, and that's your mega I.
Yes, indeed.
Or mega plus.
Indeed. No, I think Hong Kong, because Hong Kong, it's only a small city with 7.5 million people, but it's unique in a way that it's a gateway connecting the world and also part of China. And as a result, while we are expanding, right now we have 5 data centers in Hong Kong in our campus, a 60 megawatt, as you briefly mentioned, and we are building our 6th and the 7th, 2 more sites. Once those are ready in the next 2 or 3 years, our whole campus is roughly about 200 megawatt. But we're going to launch it phase by phase because while we are seeing that the data growth and also demand, customer demand are growing, it's an inevitable trend, but it will also be gradual because the nature of Hong Kong, I think the connectivity nature, peering is more important, and that doesn't use too much space. But how many cross connect that you can connect in a low latency nature, in a resilient manner, and all these are important from an ecosystem play point of view. And we as an infrastructure professionals, we are fixated in Hong Kong to strengthen this part of the business and to strengthen the community to serve the world.
And I will tell you, just a little insight, you know, when IoT really hits, your 7.5 million people and the localization of data center capacity is going to drive that demand even further. Because, you know, when you have the network is leading to capacity that needs to be closer to the people and closer to the network. So I see Hong Kong continuing to grow. Those buildings are going to have to get taller, I guess, or something's going to have to change. Okay, so I just want to quickly wrap up. We've got one last question I wanted, and we can just do this across. You know, how can we work together on the sustainability vision? Just take APAC. You know, here we've got 3 countries represented that have significant growth, right, or potential growth that's happening. How, you know, what should we be doing to actually drive this vision for APAC? And that's open to anyone.
Yeah, I think iMason provide a great platform because, well, Asia, APAC, it's very unique in a way because I attended the North American one a while ago, and it's one country, big country, while in APAC, I mean, it's very fragmented. Different countries doing different things, different regulations, smaller market, very niche. But I do believe that iMason provide a great platform for us to join forces, to share best practice and have an APAC community to share and meet regularly, to give out new ideas, share with one another, so that we can drive this whole thing in a united manner in APAC. That's just my 2 cents.
Gotcha. Yali,
Yeah.
your thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, we need to really work together on this vision, and we lead by example, right? We in our data center design or whatever the business we're in, we need to lead by example. We really go the extra miles to support sustainability, and we need to go out of our way to try to influence where we can. From a partner that we work with, the whole ecosystem, and also the policymakers, because the policy itself plays a major role on the efficiency of the infrastructure. I take China, for example. It's for sure there definitely a lot of progress made, but there are a lot of more that could be done by from the areas of better information sharing. For the same data, you could probably store it or collect it once and then effectively share it, and then also share best practices. And then also from a network and the whole, from a technology perspective, there are better ways to interconnect our ecosystem, our networks, to make it more efficient. So that would definitely help with the environment as well. It will help our future.
So Narendra, your thoughts?
My thought is goes side by side by what Raymond has recommended. Like iMason infrastructure, iMason platform should be spreaded across the APAC and promoted well, and enable growth on the solar side, renewable energy. So involve all the providers who is offering services like solar, and we should provide them a platform to give their solution. And as an operator, we'll put our requirement there that we want 1 gigawatt of energy in 5 years, but in a sustainable manner. So this platform will also and give direction to our vendors, our partners. We should promote this as like we discussed in last when we talked, like it's kind of incubation for renewables, sustainable and solar energy companies or innovators. Give a platform, and operator like us will contribute and purchase from that those startup and deploy their technology in our data center.
Gotcha. So David, wrap us up on your thoughts.
All right. I'm more focused. I want to be more focused on the implementation side. So when you talk to Christian Bellotti, Joe Kawa, and these folks, and they will talk about sustainability without even mentioning risk management. It's not, they don't care about risk management because they know how. When you talk about the Chinese, the hyperscale data center executives, they were focused on risk management without talking about sustainability. It's not that they don't care, they can't afford to. So my suggestion to IM and to the entire community really is, when we talk about sustainability, we need to be mindful there are technology gaps amongst the regions.
Absolutely.
And risk management is very high on many people's mind, especially in developing countries. So I personally have done some work, and we can talk this offline. And if we are able to bring the risk management and sustainability together, and we'll go further.
Gotcha. Excellent. Well, for the folks that are listening, first off, panelists, thank you very much. We're going to go into a Q&A session now, but this Q&A is really about brainstorming. And so, David, if you could, I'd like you to put in there from a Chinese perspective, just in Chinese language, if you could, what does this vision mean to you? We're going to be doing a rapid fire, asking people to submit their ideas. Okay, so
Okay. All right.
so if you could put that in there. And then for folks that are on here, we want you to use the chat box. In there, we want you to start thinking. You've heard from the leaders here about what this vision means to them. We would like you to tell us what it means to you. Okay, so as you start putting this back in here, we'll be pulling things up. Go ahead and put it in Chinese as well. David will translate that. We'll pick a few of these to start having a conversation with the panel itself. So first off, we've got one with 5 questions. So this come in as well. So while we're waiting for the input here, and we're going to do this rapid fire, I'm just going to ask a few questions, and if people want to jump in here. It's interesting that PUE was born from IT and the tech companies focused on M&E energy consumption and no focus on massive inefficiency of the IT hardware and software utilization. I think we need to now make sure that data center facilities work more closely with the IT and business users of the data center to ensure the overall usage is as effective as possible to get the maximum benefit for every kilowatt consumed, preferably renewably. So the question, what is iMasons doing to fully integrate the ambition of Every Click Improves the Future with, 1, data center developers, operators, and vendors? And so I guess I can answer that one. The main thing for us is that how do we bring people together to have these really critical conversations? You know, I tell you, when we got the leadership team in there to start talking about defining the problem for sustainability, what are we trying to solve? There's 14 pages of notes that came out of that. And then what emerged was this vision, and then 5 initiatives that we're going to be going through next. That concept of being able to have people come together is where I think what you were saying, Raymond, when we can bring the big bright minds together, you can solve a lot of problems, right? But you all have to be focused on what problem you're trying to solve. So starting with the vision and then going into those 5 initiatives that we've got outlined that came from the community about how we can solve or actually implement that vision is where I think we start to do that. Here's another one for you, Yali. I think on the telco and carrier side, is there anything that can be done to help drive this vision? Because I know you got a ton of experience in the telco side in your career, correct?
Definitely. So on that, if we can improve the efficiency of our telco network and how we interconnect, and the way the current move forward toward a more interconnected infrastructure and more efficient interconnect, then I think we would be able to really improve the efficiency and help the sustainability. Yeah.
And isn't 5G going to be driving a lot more towers, a lot more pico and femtocells, et cetera, around?
Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, there will be more, but I would say one thing I saw that China is doing really well from a policy perspective. They asked the different carriers to share the towers, the cell towers. So I think that's a very good initiative from the government side to ensure efficiency in the the cell towers. Otherwise, you see everybody builds their own. So
right.
Yeah.
Especially in Hong Kong, right, Raymond? There's just not a lot of places to put them.
Indeed, indeed.
So somebody came up here, Bhargav was saying that a very good vision offers us a great opportunity to collaborate and develop a fraternity working together on a common goal. So I love this because it's really about the community, right? We're uniting the builders of the digital age on common causes of things that we can go back and solve together. So that's great. So another question that came in here for base load operations, what could we do together? And remember what we were saying about the energy storage and things. Is there anything else that, pooling resources or doing something when it comes down to, I think what you were talking about, Narendra, the ability to aggregate demand, drive cost, right? Efficiency.
Right. This is like must-have thing, and we should focus on this and adopt that. So like Malta INC is ex-company incubator, incubation from Google futuristic technology company, and they now started serving this And second, Google, in last discussion, we spoke to Joe Kawa, and
Yep.
he mentioned come up with AI machine learning, and they are reducing 40%, they are optimizing the 40% thing. And I believe that Google should open source that technology to any data center can adopt that, you know. And similarly, we have to invest in these technologies and make it publicly available, so any data center operator can use it.
Yeah, for sure.
That's my view.
Excellent. So yeah, we have a choice to make during our brief visit to this beautiful blue and green living planet, to hurt it or to help it. Straight from Yali. That was a very good one, Yali.
So that's a quote actually that really resonates with me. It's from Ray Anderson. It's just something that really resonates with me. I thought to share with everyone here.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, actually, I think we're running over a little bit on time here. So I wanted to just give me a quick wrap up of a message that you would like to give as leaders in the industry back to the industry itself. So Raymond, would you like to start? What should people think about?
No, I think just around the whole sustainability that we've been talking about the whole morning. I do believe that there got to be a way that instead of just focus on the business side of it, which is to generate profit for our shareholder and all this, which is extremely important, but how to do it in a sustainable manner. You just need to put more thoughts into it, and there's got to be a way. So yeah, I'm confident that we can make it through.
So David, your final thoughts.
Okay, similar to what I just mentioned, I think that as an industry, we need to collectively think about the sustainability in the scope of business models. So sustainability, well, businesses are created not to preserve the nature. We want to make money, right? And that is the core. And how we can align making profit while maintaining a good environment, and how do we combine these two? That would be the key.
Gotcha. This goes to triple bottom line. Look that up. Good stuff. Yali, your perspective, your final thoughts.
Yeah, I guess, so when we look at the GDP growth, we should really watch out for the energy consumption per unit GDP. And there's a long way to go. And,
definitely, but we can get there. That's what I'm confident in.
Definitely.
All right, so Narendra, bring us home all the way from Taj Mahal.
Yeah, so I think technology has improved all of our lives and future generation, and it is keep adding innovations and solving global problems, all kind of problems. Think COVID, or think anything related to health or going into the space. So technology is solving, and technology will require more and more energy. But cannot stop that. But what we can do to solve that problem, to support those innovators or innovate, right? And adopt, or if you can't innovate, adopt that technology and optimize it and promote it. These are the three fundamental things we should do that as an industry.
Excellent. And just to wrap this back up, Chris Miller, I think from Chayora, actually made a quote. And those that don't know this, I apologize, but it says, "It's not easy being green." Kermit the Frog. So we're going to be green. We're going to drive this vision. And I want to thank you very much for your insights. Very, very inspirational as well. I want to just, again, say thank you for the work that you're doing, and also for the work you're going to be doing in the future. We appreciate the leadership that you're doing in each of your regions, and as far as what we're going to be doing around the world. So thank you for joining the panel. I appreciate that.